Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Timberborn, episode 24, where we start in a terrible situation. There's no water, there is food, but there's not enough to be able to sustain all of these beavers, and there is a long time left in the drought. 64 days, I believe, is left, and it's looking pretty dire. I didn't think they were going to make it unless something crazy happens. And pretty much as soon as I said that, it was like my prayers were answered as I started to see starved to death. And it turned into a frantic race against time to fix that problem. I don't want these guys to die. I would like to carry on the series. I'm really enjoying it, but I have gone a little bit crazy with the builds, and I really should focus on the task at hand, and that's get the monument build. But that needs 20,000 research points. But before we get there, let's try and keep these guys alive a little bit longer. You can start to see in the top left, starve to death, starve to death. If you watch the long playthrough video of this, it's way more frantic than I'm going to talk through this, but you can see it's really ramping up there on the left. They were all dying in Metal District and Pineappleton. They were dying in both of them. And the problem with Pineappleton dying is that's where the berries are created. And berries will make new baby beavers. What I cannot do as part of the rules on the permadeath is once a drought has started, I am not allowed to move beavers around districts, because that rule goes along with not sacrificing beavers to the district rule, so they have to stay where they are. That's a massive problem. All the food was, funny enough, in the food district, and they were not bringing it through the district crossing because no one on the food side was working on the district crossing, and something I didn't realize until a lot later. Luckily, we spotted it before they all died in Pineappleton, and most of them did. You can see the numbers dropped dramatically, and they were able to get some food in them and start planting the berries again. And luckily, we just survived. The adults were dying, but one baby was born just in time. You can see me here frantically turning everything off to try and start this cycle again to save them as quickly as possible. And what that means is all the beavers have no jobs, and then we go through making sure the priority things are on. So here, I need berries. In order to get berries, I need water to plant them. It's all drained, so we have to turn on the water pumps here, they're called water dumps, actually, and the beavers take water from a supply and they dump it into the main crater. And that will bring the food back, and we were able to plant more berries, and crisis was averted. But there was still a long time to go before this drought finished, and still water was a problem and food was a problem, and the beaver population started to go back up again because that's the rule. I can't turn off the birthing pods. So we were still it was still on a knife's edge if we were going to make it through this 97-day drought or not. Now, part of this 97-day drought kind of woke me up a little bit and thought, I need to finish the reservoir and the pumping stations on top of it. We managed to reroute the power so the pumps would be able to work. And because of that, left a massive hole for us to fill with water storage and water pumps and all of that wonderful stuff. Here you can, I'm trying to lay out a way to get to the water quicker, because these water pumping stations are on the other side of the path that goes up the reservoir stairs. So making a metro was critical for their development in the future, and we focused on putting some more metro routes in. And the issue doing that this late, when you see districts being built like the robot one and the food one and the metal one, you can put more thought into how it's going to go together. But this first district is always messy. You have to retrofit everything. You have to work out ways to get paths in the best areas without destroying everything. And in destroying certain paths and routes, you quickly, like what I'm doing here is I'm destroying this path, and I didn't realize that cuts off the path to the water on the left, which meant the beavers in this district had even less water. And I make a bigger mistake later on the right, and I panic because I can see there's only 2,000 water left, and confused because there's quite a lot in storage. And that's basically because I cut the pathways off to all of the water areas. And this game can really punish you if you don't really pay attention to what you're doing. They die so quickly. And we're trying to avoid that. We're trying to avoid that as much as we can, because we have come a long way. This build and playthrough is just looking fantastic. And we've got some really exciting stuff that they still have to build. And we've got exciting plans for the future of building more districts. Obviously, we're going to need to get the monument built. I'm looking forward to if the robot area ever gets built, because that thing's a monster. So we do need to look at resources. And I was thinking that we possibly need to make another forest area, and that will help us get more resources. And again, you can watch the playthrough videos if you're interested to see more details on the creation of this colony, because now it's got so complicated, you're missing out on the highlight video of all of the underground tunnels, all of the water tunnels that we're building, all of the pathways and resources. I just don't bother putting those in the highlight videos anymore, because we've kind of gone over those many times before, of how they're made and what they do and why they do it. So I'm only focusing on like the major sort of building elements that's changing the shape of the colony. So let's jump back to talking about this water area. It's kind of built the same way that they all have been. I always create 2 tanks of water storage, the large ones, and I make them supply only. And that basically means that the beavers will put the water in here, and then the haulers will take the water from here and then take it down to the drinking stations near the beavers' homes. In the morning, they will always look for food and they will always look for water. So you kind of want to put those resources next to them. You don't want them having to run all the way up to the top of the reservoir to get water, to then run all the way back down to go to their jobs. So you kind of have to build a lot of haulers, and the haulers' responsibility is to take the water from here and keep those water butts, as you can see on the left of the screen, keep them full with this water. Now, obviously, when you lose all of the beavers like we've done here, there are no haulers. It's kind of one of the jobs that gets filled at the end, and because there's no haulers, they have to come up here anyway. But quite honestly, when you get down to like 20, 30 beavers, you've got bigger things to worry about, like their actual survival. We worked out quite quickly that, we can fit another area of water storage up here, and I want to make use of all of this wasted space as possible. And what I mean by wasted space is we can't plant anything here. We can't have any buildings down there because it's flooded. And I've always found creating these like huge water stations on top of reservoirs a really good use of that wasted area. Certainly when you've got maps like this where there's not a lot of flat land, and to get a lot of flat land, you have to use a lot of dynamite. And as you've seen from this playthrough and destroying the reservoirs, making flat areas and using dynamite for anything takes forever. And by the time you've got it, they'd all be dead. I want to focus on expansion. I want to try and get these districts up and running so they can support themselves through droughts. I'm kind of tired of this sort of panicked play that seems to be going on. And the reason why I'm playing like this is because, one, I'm creating content for you guys, never done it before, and hopefully I'm getting better at it, but I've got a lot of plans of how to make these videos better in the future. And two, I'm having to build at speed. I don't have a lot of time to think because I'm talking to you as I'm building it, and that is causing a lot of mistakes and errors, which we've seen a few in this series so far. But it's all going well, I'm enjoying it. So we did manage to survive. And we only managed to survive because they all died of hunger. Let's be honest, if that hadn't have happened, they all would have died. But I was excited to see these water pumps working properly, of how quickly can we fill reservoir 2. And unfortunately, the answer was pretty embarrassing. I realized quite quickly that I was probably 1 or 2 pumps away from being at the maximum amount I can have in Creator 1 before there's no more water. You can see on the pumps, it keeps flashing green. That green is the land. The water cannot come into this crater quick enough as I'm pumping it out. And I think for my calculations, it would take probably about, I think I worked it out at about 18 days. The original one was 27, so it is a lot quicker. But it does mean that we are restricted to a certain amount of water, and I fear that Reservoir 3 will never fill, which is a shame. But remember what I said, with this build, when permadeath happens and they die, we're going to move this build across to a creative build, and then we can use the water aquifers and all of the rules that we've put on ourselves not to get water from this map. We will unlock them and we will run this properly, just to see how good it could be. I want to see how, if all those pumps are working efficiently, I want to see how quickly it fills that. And one day we will, I promise. But for now, we are running the permadeath rules. This is the only body of water I can pull from. And it's not going to produce a lot. We're certainly not going to be able to build a huge civilization that I wanted to, because the droughts are just brutal. That 97 day, there's not any reservoir that I can fill that could probably survive that long. But anyway, that's kind of what we worked out. You can see me here basically turning off pumps to say, okay, what is the optimal pump usage? And it's about 8 again, which is embarrassing because I was already there with that line at the top. I didn't have to build all of that. Never mind. We are extending this to the left. You can see it's built there already, and that's where our hydroponics area is going to go. I kind of still hope I'm saying that right. If I'm not, I apologize. But we are going to build a new district on the left. The foundation has been laid, and on the next episode, I hope to get there. We need to build up the beaver numbers again. We need to get them breeding. We need to focus on trying to find a way to get water to the metal district. That's bugging me that it's reliant solely on Pineappleton for its water and food at the moment. I kind of want to fix that. And I want to fix the issues that happened in food, which made them all die. That was a confusing one, but we did work it out. But we are starting to build a non-drinking water reservoir on the top left. You can see they've started to build it, and that's a new reservoir that's going to hold water that will not be for drinking. That water will only be used in a drought to irrigate the land, which I'm pretty excited to see. And I did a little bit of work on sluice gates underground to make sure that the beavers were not going to pump that out in food. So if you're interested in seeing a little bit more detail of the behind the scenes workings of these colonies, go and check out the playthrough videos. And until next time, take care and take care of each other. See you soon.